And
I mean, please, Sister Kyeatta, let's actually get deeper now, because I know you got a lot, and I love the fact that you jumped right away this conversation about extraterrestrials, demonic forces, low energy, and I see that, and I really think that, I mean, I did not see the conversation going there, but I actually like the fact that you took it there, because I think there needs to be an understanding that we have been induced to paint images in our heads of what this means, but actually it is some of the most, again, there's a saying that we say in French: méfie-toi de l'eau qui brille, de ce qui brille le plus. Be mindful of what shines the most.
Right. Okay. I think,
and in other words, the devil hides himself in the details. He's himself or herself, depending on what we're talking about. Yeah, go ahead, and I want you to tap also into this, the honorable, Louis Farrakhan and Minister Farrakhan to see a little bit about that, and because here in Europe, Minister Farrakhan is considered to be an anti-Semite. He has said a lot of things that were taken out of their context and were used well in ways to fit a certain agenda or not. That's for everyone to find out. But just like any humans, he's entitled to his positions. But I don't think that if you listen to some of his deep conversations, that he's an anti-Semite per se. I wouldn't say that. But anyway, I would understand people's sensitivities. But yes, let me not talk more, and let me let you. Not all the glitters are gold. Thank you, Joan. I mean, not all the glitters are gold. Thank you very much. That's what it is. Go ahead.
Well, there have been times that he's made comments about the synagogue of Satan, or he's spoken about things that they made reference to the Jewish community, and he'll always clarify, I'm talking about those people who study the Talmud and not the Torah. And half the time when they post a comment that he's made that's been anti-Semitic, it hasn't been in the right context. It's like they'll pick out a part, but they didn't listen to everything that he said. So I've seen that, and he's sat down and broken bread with rabbis, with sheiks, with, and he's been able to go toe to toe with scholars and historians of different religions.
But isn't that interesting that this is taken out of its, and it's always the case. It's like whenever there's somebody that's just trying to bring forth a different perspective or different narrative from what is being pushed, it's automatically used it's weaponized, in other words.
Well, then the thing is that once you hear something negative about him, you're not going to listen to anything he says, right?
No.
So if he's speaking truth, and it's too much truth about certain issues and certain things, you're no longer going to hear any of that message, because you're going to be turned off by something, a small tweet on Twitter or an article. You're not going to take a minute to go, hey, let me hear what else he has to say, because you're going to think that, because of that one thing, that there's nothing else worth listening to. Meanwhile, he did a whole lecture on the Mothership, and he related it to Ezekiel's wheel. And at one point, when he was really talking about the Mothership and the little ships and the extraterrestrials, like, I think it was during one of the Savior's days, I remember looking outside and seeing it. It was almost like they were like, well, if you watch this, you're going to see us. Like, you're going to see it. Like, we're going to make ourselves visible.
But you understand that this is really hard to believe for a lot of people. Like, what do you even begin to mean by that? Like, so how does someone like, Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, knows even about that? And how is that connected to Islam? And how is that even connected to, the nation? And how is that even supposed to impact people's life? Because for what I know, he's a scholar. He understands. He knows the Bible to the tip of his, as deep as it can be, the Quran and even the Torah, and many scholars do. But like, tell us, according to your knowledge.
So like Ancient Aliens, that show Ancient Aliens actually has done a couple of shows where they pull some information from the Bible, from Ezekiel's wheel, from the Torah, when they talk about Moses and how Moses and his people were out and survived out in the wilderness, and like they showed pictures of like something that was out there that was nourishing them, that was available. So there are other scientists and historians that have linked some of this information together on that particular show. Now, people might watch that show and think, I don't believe anything that's there, but they provide you with books that you can look up and read. And then, bigger than all of that, the CIA website has been declassified. You can pull up remote viewing and read about that. You can pull up looking glass technology and read about that.
Let me ask you a question. Are these informations subject to interpretation, or they are actual factual, and they are actually things that may not be backed up officially by the government, but the fact, well, the American government, but the fact that they are being declassified means that they actually hold some ground. There were
reports written, and that's what happened, and now you can read it. That's what's up there.
You know what? You understand why I'm asking these things, because people are very quick to come and say, well, this is what, and establish what we're saying as truth, whereas we are curious, and I consider myself to be extremely curious about these things, because I do believe that it is impossible that the universe and God and its almighty
why would they just make this us?
Exactly. You know what I mean?
And that's never made any sense to me.
Yeah,
even as a child growing up. And then things get...
So the Mothership, because you hear Erkaba to the Ankh, the Ankh, you hear Erkaba do this whole, there's this whole, tell us a little bit about it. I'm really, really interested.
It gets even crazier. So a lot of the stuff that we look at on TV and the movies, that technology is 10 to 20 years behind what actually exists or what actually is going on. So whatever technology we see in the movies, trust and believe, if they're letting us see it, there's other technology we can't even imagine that exists.
I could dig that.
There's like a channel of super soldiers that I follow. And these are people who've been genetically altered by the government, just like Captain America. And there's some guys that I follow that were super soldiers. I listen to their story. They break everything down about all the different missions they've been on, that there's like a space station on Mars, that there's one on the moon because they've been there, and they give details. And it's not like they're telling a story. So there's so many things. And now YouTube's allowing them to be online.
But right? Now I'm being the devil's lawyer, right?
Right. No, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be that, if you analyze compartmentalists, people who analyze, people's behaviors, they would say that a lot of the people that relate these experiences, some of them you can tell they're not lying, but could it also be? I think in psychology there's a term for that, where you can't dissociate yourself from the reality from the fiction. Could it be that there's some post-traumatic things going on? And again,
absolutely.
But again, that question is put in perspective by the fact that when there's so many people giving this sort of testimonies, that is everybody having the same sort of problem at the same time?
Right. And I'm not even talking about people being abducted. I'm just talking about people who have been
in the government and being subject
and been subject.
But those are people who willingly wanted to be, used to be superhumans or something like
that. No, some willingly. Some of them don't remember, because they'll, like in the Men in Black, they'll clear your memory of it.
Yeah, that I'm pretty certain there's some shit like that do exist for sure. You can blank somebody's memory from maybe not as spectacular as the Men in Black, but yeah. If you can literally induce people
I'm just using the movie as
no, I understand, but it's for because some people are very. I'm not saying that they want to watch it, but since this is on the internet, and it's going to be watched again and again,
right?
But because if you think about it, you can actually put somebody into hypnosis and make them just like those dormant spies, that can be triggered at a certain point and moment in their life. They don't even know the perfect normal, and then turn into something else.
That happens. To be honest, half the time we don't know what's going on in the government or what's going on around us, because we're all being distracted all the time with, I'm not going to say music, but like TV programs, crap on social media, naked people on Instagram. Like all that stuff is to keep you from actually taking the time to look stuff up. Because sometimes the minute I see something online or the minute I hear somebody talking about something, if they mention a book where I can find the information, I'll go look up the book and I might buy it. I don't just stop at, okay, they said blah, blah, blah on whatever show or whatever YouTube channel or whatever, or on the History Channel. I don't just let it stop there. There are so many books that I've bought just from some of the lectures that the minister or some of the other ministers have done on the rostrum about different things going on in history, different things scientifically. There's books out there for a lot of it. There are people who've done a study or who, you know, there's always a way to find the information if you dig.
Yeah, if they're curious. Now, but as you know, there's a lot of bullshit as well. There's a lot of like, you know, so for example, so as far as your gathering of that and your personal experience from reading on the topic, what's going on with that Mothership, man? Because that's really intriguing me, and honestly, I haven't really searched into that, but I need to.
So that's probably one ship, or one group of extraterrestrials. There's so many that are here, and I've been looking at videos and stuff over the years of the different, like, there are groups on Clubhouse that talk about the different groups of extraterrestrials and the different ones that are here.
Yeah,
and like
the Anunnakis, the reptilians, the Draconians, etc. Yeah.
Right. So at this point, when you start reading some of that stuff, you have to use your own intuition and your own, that's when the spirit comes in. That's when you start to realize, does this sound real, or does this sound like this is some BS? And after a while, you'll start to feel what's true and what's nonsense. Because even with some of these people who post stuff on YouTube, every now and then I'll listen to somebody and I'll be like, this is some nonsense. Like, you're just talking. But when there are details and when there's information that you can put a finger on, or you can pull up something and read about it, you're like, okay, this has more basis in fact. Let me keep listening. And then that's where discernment comes in. Like, if you don't have a sense of discernment and a sense of intuition, then it might not be a good look to delve down the rabbit hole if you're not able to discern.
Yeah, because that's a very important point you're making, sister, because I really believe that this is where a lot of people get it twisted. And that's why, unfortunately, when people who don't have sense of discernment and sense of self, really, to understand where they stand in space and really be able to have a capacity to look around and observe what's going on around them, then they can easily have a distorted experience of what they want to experience, which leads them to think and to actually start, pushing the message that, well, what you were saying was bullshit and there's no such thing, because in the first place, they didn't align themselves, to make that, to have that experience the right way. But then again, super pragmatic, super practical people will say, well, y'all just, this whole shit, and y'all actually this is the work of the devil through, working through you. What are you doing? And it's like, okay.
Look, I had somebody tell me that according to their church, meditation was of the devil. Why do we need to meditate? And I was like, okay.
It's a form of prayer. Like, what's wrong with meditation?
I was like, Jesus meditated. It says that in the Bible. Like, but that's the same.
But those are the same people that believe that Jesus is white. So Jesus was white. So well, what do we know anyway?
But see,
was he white? Was he black? Was what was his name? Kyeatta? Because supposedly the story of Jesus is not real, and there's so many beliefs, so many things, and
Well, see,
anyway, man,
the biggest problem across the globe to me is religion. And when I say it's religion, not just the main.
Is it a problem, or is it a solution that turned into a problem?
It was information that turned into ritual. It's a toolkit for how to live and how to ascend and everything, but it got compartmentalized based on where you were and who believed what and twisted, so that it almost seems like every religion has pieces of the truth, but nobody wants to come together to share those truths to make everything one, so we can have one whole truth. And then people will pick something and create a religion. Like